Hi everyone, today I'm going to explain you about one interview question. In Spring Boot, basically we write this line SpringApplication.run. So inside SpringApplication.run we may pass the main test class or app class and arguments we pass. So interviewer will ask what is the can you please explain what is the internal working of this. So let's say SpringApplication.run. This is line is written inside Java Spring Boot basically. So what is the meaning and what are the internal steps over here? Step 1, basically internally what the Spring Boot framework people have written piece of code. There are lot many internals is there. So step 1, it will create one empty environment object. Okay, step 1 will be it will create one empty environment object. Okay, this is the step 1. It will create one very empty blank environment object that will be of standard environment object type. Okay, so we can have one standard environment object over here. So okay, this is a step 1. After that it will detect and load all the external types of configurations, and it after loading and detecting all the external configurations, as soon as this environment object is created, this is totally empty right now. After this, what Spring Boot will do, it will check all the external configurations, property files, every type of configurations and properties sources and external configurations. It will check and detect and load that configurations into this environment variable. Okay, so step 2 is detection and loading external configurations. Step 2 is loading external configurations. Okay, I hope my lines are clear. Okay, so this is the step 2. It will detect and load all the external configurations like we have in src main resources, src test resources. So over here we have inside resources we have application dot property file. Okay, so whatever configurations are written in this file, those it will detect and load all this into this blank empty standard environment object. Okay, all the application property files configurations it will load, as well as system properties configurations also it will load into our empty environment object. Okay, these are the step 1 and step 2. After this, let's move on again to our standard notes. Step 1 is create an empty environment object. It will create an empty environment object. This environment object is a crucial component for Spring Framework IOC control of container. Basically what if we talk about this line, the main aim of this line is to create an IOC container. Okay, that is why we all are doing so many steps to create IOC container. Earlier what used to happen in Spring, in core Spring, if we talk about in core Spring or Spring MVC, basically we were creating the application container. The programmer or the developer was creating the IOC container. Over here Spring Boot internally will create IOC container. How and why it will create and how it will create IOC container, that we are seeing over here. Firstly, it will create one environment object. After creating that standard environment object blank and empty, it will detect and load all the external configurations files. It will detect, read, load all the application.properties files, system property files, and various other types of properties are there that it will detect and load. After detecting and loading, it will load all this into this environment object variable. So the environment object is very crucial component of Spring IOC container. It serves as a placeholder for the configuration properties that will be used throughout the application. Initially, this environment object is created empty with no properties loaded. This empty environment is typically an instance of standard environment which implements environment interface. So this environment object interface which we have, it is responsible for resolving the properties from various sources. Like it will try to resolve whether to read this application properties or whether to read this application properties, or on the root level application.properties files is there configured, which one to resolve from various resources. And it supports profiling specific configurations like dev, we have QA, we have test, various profiles we have. So it will support various profile specific configurations also, and it will provide a unified interface access to all the configuration properties. Okay. After that, in step 2, I already explained that it will load all the external configurations. External configurations over here are like this. So the empty environment object loads configuration from application.properties file, system properties. Okay, I told you over here application.property file is there, system properties is also there. It will load both. Okay. After that, during this phase, Spring Boot will detect all the available configuration sources. Whatever, wherever the configuration sources are there, it will detect and load, and it will establish a property source hierarchy, and it will load property from various sources including command line arguments, Spring Application JSON environment property, Java system property, operating system environment variables, profile specific application properties. Like for let's say for Dell we have different application property file. Let's say for QA we have different application.property file. Let's say for test environment we have different application property file. Let's say for UAT we have different application property files. So it will support all the types of profile specific configuration properties also, and application properties like application.property file or application.yaml, and then property sources annotation and default properties. The loaded properties follow a specific precedence order. Okay, so firstly it will take a precedence order that which property configuration to firstly load. Okay, so firstly command line, then Spring Application JSON, then Java system property, then operating system property, then application.properties or application.yaml, and then added property sources annotation. It will load all these types of external configurations. Basically what these are just external configurations which we use. Okay, defined in command line arguments, and command line arguments, whatever property configurations we are defining in command line arguments, it will always run first, and it will override those in the configuration files, which in turn override the default properties. This means that all the configuration properties are centralized in one place, that is environment variable. Those properties can be injected into Spring Beans. Once the configuration properties are centralized and loaded into this environment object, those properties can be injected into Spring Beans. Add value, add configuration, environment.properties. Environment properties basically provides abstraction from actual property sources. It involves profiles specific configuration switching also. Like if you want to work in dev, or if you want to test, we have profile So it can configure switch also. It provides switching mechanism also. The environment object of IAC container is useful for holding. Basically, it can hold properties or configuration values so that these values can be injected as dependent values into the targeted bean definitions. Okay, so I will again cut short and I will paraphrase it my sentences again. What happens as soon as Spring Application.run this line is executed? Interval will ask. So we have to tell, firstly it will create empty environment object of type standard environment. After that it will detect and load all the types of properties, configuration, external configurations like over here we have property configuration files, properties, command line arguments. Okay, command line, Spring Application JSON, Java system properties, operating system environment property variables, profile specific application properties, application.properties, application.yaml, properties, sources annotation, default properties. Okay, so we should always remember command line arguments. It will always highest precedence is there for command line argument. And then application.properties is very down over here. Okay, it has very less precedence, but all the configurations which we define, it loads right now, and all the properties, source annotation, whatever, wherever we define operating system environment variables, Spring Application JSON environment, Java system properties, all these application or properties, whatever configuration we write, all that will get loaded into this environment object. Okay, these are the step 1 and step 2, or process 1 or process 2. Okay, after this let's move on to the next diagram which I have. So as I told you, Spring Application.run is there. It will act as a entry point. Okay, for Spring Boot application, it will create one empty environment object. After creation of the empty environment object, it will manage and resolve all the configurations and environment details. It manages all the properties, configuration, application.property files, all the command line configurations like command line arguments we have, CLA command line arguments. It will load. Okay, it will load and resolve all the placeholder. It will handle also profiles, like if we have dev profile, QA profile, UAT profile, all types of profile switching. It will load and into the environment variable, and it will provide one unified property access. Okay, and it supports hierarchies. So two things are over here. It will create empty environment object, as well as it will load and configure and upload basically inside that environment variable object with all the configurations over here. After that, it will print the banner with it will instantiate banner class, and banner equals to new banner, and banner dot print banner it will do with the current environment loaded environment object, source class and output operation. It will search for banner.txt, banner.gif or default ASCII, and then it will process all the placeholders, application.version, Spring Boot version, and colorize the output. After colorizing the output, it will write onto the console. Okay, after that we already know that application.properties and system properties all will get loaded into environment property. Loads in certain order. There is one order in which all the configuration property files will be loaded. Firstly, command line argument CLA, then Spring Application JSON, SAJ, you can also remember such. Okay, then we have system properties, SP, then operating system, then we have application.properties, and then we have default properties. So total 6 configuration sources are there. Let's repeat with us. What are those 6 configuration sources we have? Okay, 6 configuration sources, like we have CLA command line argument. Okay, after that command line argument, we have such, okay, Spring Application.run. After this, system properties, SP system properties. After this, we have OS environment variables, OEV. After that, we have application.properties, and last but not the least, we have default properties. Okay, default props. Okay, so we can remember these like CLA, such, SP, OS, application.properties, default properties. How you can remember? CLA command line argument, such, you can remember such, Sajna Savarna. Okay, CLA you can remember. Okay, SP, like there was one of my teacher like Satya Prakash. Okay, so system properties you can remember. And even when you open the you open this your own system, so over here also system properties is there. System properties in view advanced system properties. Okay, in your PC also we have, so you can remember like this. And then operating system environment variables we have, then application.properties and default properties. Okay, so I hope you can remember like this. Okay, SP Satya Prakash, like system properties you can remember, then operating system environment variables, then first was CLA command line argument, then second it was such Spring Application.run, then SP, then operating system environment variables, then application properties and default properties. Okay, so after this, let's move on forward. Okay, so basically now I will move forward. Let me reach to this point. So I have covered over till here. Okay, so now after creating the empty environment object, I will again move on to this. Now I have next step. Okay, first step, it will create one empty environment object, then it will load all the external configurations from various sources. What are those various sources? There are 6 various sources. Okay, like first CLA, such, and then SP, then operating system environment variables, and then application.yaml, application.property file, and then default properties. Okay, so after this we can say that it will create one application context IOC container. It will determine firstly what type of application type it is, and then it will create one application context object. Okay, so this is main step 4. Okay, after all of this, step 4 is this. And step 2, so step 3, what we can write is print the banner. I hope whatever I am explaining, each and every line should be crystal clear in your mind. Otherwise there is no use of taking this session, because generally I charge 50 USD dollar for international students. Okay, so I hope each and every point over here is very clear to you. Okay, so now I will move on to next point. It will basically detect what type of application it is. Okay, it will deduce the web application type, and it will determine what is the application logic is there. So basically three types it is. Okay, it is basically three types. I will come to here. What is the application type? Whether it is a web, whether it is a reactive web flux, or it is a standard application. So if we have MVC, Spring MVC detected along with Spring Web, and so basically it will have servlet. Web will always have servlet and then web server. Okay, that is why we have servlet web server application context. Otherwise reactive web server application context. Okay, otherwise only annotation config application context it is. Okay, so based on the application, it will deduce the application, and it will, after detecting, it will create that type of application context IOC container. Okay, after this detecting, it will instantiate that type of IOC container, and now our fully configured application context is ready for use. Okay, so I will move on to my personal notes. Okay, so over here is it is explained same thing over here, that it will examine and deduce the class path to determine if the application is web, reactive, or regular. Okay, so according to that only it will create the IOC application context. Okay, after this I will move on to my next flow. Okay, let's have a quick recap of what all we studied till now. Okay, so let me enlarge this. One second, guys. Okay, okay, I'm still not able to. I guess I will not be able to enlarge it, but okay. View. Let me try enlarging it now. Okay, I am able to. So step 1 was it will create one empty environment object. Step 2, it will load an external configuration from all the 6 places. That is, first one was CLA, command line argument, highest priority, then such Spring application JSON, then SP system properties, then fourth one I told like operating system environment variables, then fifth one application properties or application.yaml, and then last one default properties. Okay, so all those properties it will detect, load, read in the order, and it will initialize populate all the property sources within that empty environment object. After that it will print the banner and colorize it. Okay, it will search for banner.txt, banner.gi, banner.jpg. It will create the image banner and default ASCII alt it will produce, and support color and all the property placeholders it will try to create, and after that it will print it on the console. Okay, after that, as I told you, it will detect which type of application it is on the various type of application. Deducing, it will create that type of IOC application context container. Okay, so oh, I have explained till here. Okay, okay, so context creation and preparation we have to study now. uh, Basically after this, it will prepare the context. Okay, firstly it will instantiate the appropriate context. Okay, that is whether it is a web servlet web server application context, or reactive web server application context, or it is a normal annotation config application context. Okay, after that it will set the environment variable. It will apply all the context initializer and register shutdown hooks. It will refresh the context. As soon as the context is refreshed, all our beans get initialized. Okay, auto wiring starts, singleton beans get initialized. Okay, runs application runner or command line runner beans. So final result is fully configured application context we have received. Okay, so in this diagram also same thing is explained, that if it will be a web, so annotation config servlet web server application is reactive. Annotation config reactive web server application context, and if it is neither of them, then normal annotation config application context will be there, and IOC container creation will take place. Okay, after this it will load all the factories, like we have auto configuration. Basically all the types of auto configuration it will load and register those auto configuration classes. Okay, so basically we have one application beans and another is framework beans auto configuration, like the data source Hikari, or by default any source we want, or anything by default we want, then we can go for framework beans auto configuration classes. And if we have added configuration added bean added component added bean added service our own way we want, then we can go for application bean. Okay, then it will prepare for refresh, and it will set all the environment variable and property sources. So it will do a prepare context, and then context.refresh will happen. And in this only after, as soon as the refresh method is called on the context, then only the bean creation take place. Okay, so context refresh steps is that it will prepare for refresh, it will create bean factory, it will register bean post processor, it will initialize message source, and it will initialize application event multicaster, and instantiate all the remaining singletons. Okay, so basically now what is happening over here is let me keep it very simple to you. Okay, so over here, like it has been defined auto configuration, whatever data source by default is present, that only take. Okay, so again now I will go to this one flow, SpringApplication.run. We did, it will load all the property files from various different configuration. It will load a banner colorize it, the banner, and display it. After that, it will create application context based on the application type. After that, it will load the application context initializer. Initializers, basically it will collect from jar. Okay, it will collect from context.initializer.class property in application.properties and application.add initializers. From these it will collect, then it will prepare the context, then it will for every initializer it will try to apply application context initializer. It will try to initialize only right now. After that initialization, during that initialization we will see that environment object is there before refresh, and property sources is also there in the IOC container before refresh. Then initializers will do what? Initializers will modify context initializer. Okay, basically our application context it will try to initialize and modify. After that it will register application as, or register application bean definition, load and register the Spring factories. Auto configuration it will do, register the bean definition, load and register Spring factory, and context.refresh method is called. After this context.refresh method is called, post initializer process, bean factory post process is applied, bean gets initialized, instantiated, dependencies are injected. Okay, after this what will happen? Let's after what application context initializer can do. So initializer can access configurable application context before even beans are created, allowing them to register some additional property sources because it has one initialize method. And it can even set profile, like profile of developer local. Then it will register bean factory post processors. Okay, bean factory post processors before and after. Okay, configure environment and set a feature flag. Okay, so basically what initializers are useful basically when we want to change before even any bean is instantiated. Okay, so there are a lot many built-in initializer: delegating application context initializer, context ID application context initializer, configuration warnings application context initializer, and server port info application context initializer. Okay, so conclusion is application context initializer. It is a very powerful extension point in Spring that allows to customize our application context IOC container before it's fully initialized. It's perfect for environment specific configuration, setting up infrastructure beans and modifying it. Okay, so in now very simple words again, let me go through this diagram so that I can end my discussion over here. Okay, so application is started at 0 millisecond in Spring Boot, SpringApplication.run. After that, empty environment object is there and it gets prepared. After that, application context object is created based on the type of the application type. After that, context application context initializer will be there. Okay, initializer will initialize before even the bean is instantiated. After that, context prepared and context loaded. Context refresh begins. Refresh once dot refresh method is called, then the bean gets defined and bean definitions get finalized and instantiated. Bean instantiation initialization process takes place. Okay, after that the application is ready. Okay, so again what application context initializer does: As soon as application context is created and blank empty environment object gets filled with the property sources, active profile, system properties, environment variables, it will create one bean factory object also, and with the assigned property sources of the environment, it will also uh, initialize bean factory. It will also initialize active profiles. It will also register event listener. It will also register bean factory post process before initialization, bean post process after initialization. Okay, set environment properties, configure application context settings, and resource loader, class loader, application ID, event publisher. It will check. So refresh sequence if you want to check now what happens in sequence of request, application context dot refresh. So before refresh, our application context IC container is there, environment object variable is configured, property sources are also added, no bean but is instantiated still. But as I told you, as soon as context dot refresh is called, it will prepare for refresh. It will obtain fresh bean factory. Okay, after that it will prepare for bean factory. It will move bean factory post processors, then register bean post processors, then finish bean factory initialization, and then finish refresh. Okay, so basically what used to happen in bean definition, firstly we will have in bean factory but matter is not called, then bean instantiation take place and dependencies are injected, then bean post processing applies initialization callback run on bean ready for use. So bean in instantiation, it will find a bean definition, create new instance, populate the properties, apply post processor. In bean post processor processing pipeline, post process before initialization, post construct after property set, and post process after initialization. So application context initializer run before entire bean instantiation process takes place. Okay, this is all the overall working of SpringApplication.run. I hope you like my video. You can pay me the money so that I can start explaining you in more depth with real codes, examples. So I will be a perfect tutor for Spring Boot, microservices, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Angular, React, and I'm perfectly a teacher for. I'm perfect. I perfectly can explain even other topics in DevOps as well. So please do pay me the money so that I can start teaching you.